Hello, I'm Akash. I am a student of Masai. My student ID is FSD 25 underscore 05009. And I've created a project for the book enthusiast called Bookverse. So this project has been given to us for on module 4 after the end of module 4 on the build week. So uh, I have used a tech stack of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Firebase Firebase for authentication and Firestore to save the collections in the database. So let's come to the first question. What is the scope of the project and why did you choose it? The scope of Bookverse is to create an engaging platform for readers where they can suggest books, join discussions, and reading progress, track reading progress, and schedule meetings with fellow members. So I chose this project because because it blends social interactivity with literature, and I wanted to build a front end only experience that feels dynamic and user-friendly, using real-time data from Firebase to simulate full stack functionality. Now, moving on to question number 2. Can you walk me through the most challenging technical problem you encountered in your project and how you resolved it? So, the most challenging issue was handling dynamic models for login, register, while keeping the user flow intuitive. Ensuring the register model stored on first visit, switch automatically to the login on success, and correctly reappeared after logout without any alerts required. Careful state handling with Firebase auth and DOM manipulations. I resolved it using authentication listeners and structured conditional rendering via JavaScript. Moving on to next question. What specific technologies did you use and why did you choose them for this project? So, first of all, I have used HTML, CSS, JavaScript for building a responsive, interactive front end. Then I have used Firebase authentication and Firestore for easy integration for real-time updates, auth flows, cloud data without managing a backend. It's been a very helpful. Quill, I've used Quill for its rich text editor for a smooth comment experience in discussions. Then I have used the Google Fonts and custom CSS to maintain a modern and clean UI. These tools help me build a full feature experience with just the front-end codes. So moving on to next question. Did you encounter any performance issues? How did you identify and address them? So to be frank, there were some issues, but they were not major. But when rendering multiple discussions, posts, and meeting, I noticed a minor lag. And I optimized this by pagination in the discussion area, and then using fire restore limit and query ordering to load recent content first. And afterwards, it will load the other content, which are required very less. Then removing the redundant DOM updates using inner HTML and batch appending the elements. So moving on to next question. Can you explain a situation where you had to make a critical decision that impacted the project direction? So one big decision was keeping the app minimalist. Initially, I had considered on having buttons for each of the feature, but after After going through the project, after creating some of the elements, after progressing bit by bit, I thought that it can be a standalone. It can be a standalone project. It can be a one page, only one web page project, and it will look good and it will look nice. So I focused on that, and the results are quite good. Moving on to next question. How did you manage version control and collaboration in your project? Version collaboration. Since this was a solo project, I used Git for version control. I created commits for each feature module, auth discussions, meetings, etc. For collaboration in the future, GitHub branches and PRs could be used. Were there any trade-offs you had to make while working on the project? How did you prioritize? So I had to drop some of the advanced features like video meetings on the website itself without referring without moving on to Zoom, and the user notification to focus on core personal functionality like discussion and reading tracker. I prioritize features based on user value and feasibility within the time frame, and the time frame was it was very constrained. Moving on to next question. Describe a piece of feedback you received on your project and how you implemented it. So a peer suggested, Sir Zakir suggested that the reading progress tracker should persist and be viewable later. I added Firestore integration to store the reading tops, logs, and show previously entered progress on reopening the tracker. There was one more advice from Sir Zakir, and that was to integrate, to filter out the uh, to filter out the books by the genre. For example, if a user likes non-fiction, then he will be shown the non-fiction books upon logging in to his profile, and afterwards he can change afterwards, but by default it will be shown as a non-fiction. Then moving on to next question. What would you do differently if you were to start this project over again? To do it over again, I would add the video meeting feature, which will be posted uh, on my website, and then improving a lot. There were some bugs and there were lags, so I can improve them within this time frame, and so that is it. Thank you. Moving on to the question of design and architecture questions. First one, can you explain the architecture of your project? Why was it designed this way? So Bookverse follows a component-driven architecture where each major feature, for example, the auth models, discussion board, meetings, reading tracker, it is separated into its own HTML JSS file. Firebase handles backend like operations. This separation allows for easier maintenance and feature scaling. How did you, moving on to next question, how did you ensure the scalability and security of your project? For scalability, I used Firebase queries with the sorting and pagination to avoid overloading the DOM. And for the security, I have used a Firebase authentication feature. Then how did you collaborate with other team members on this project? Can you give me an example of how you resolved a conflict or disagreement? To be clear, it was a solo project. Describe a situation you had to incorporate. Describe a situation where you had to incorporate feedback from others into your project. Uh, so yeah, I was told on the first day. On the second day in the ALH, Zakir said that this app can be without login and register models, but it will be very uh, to manage this. It will be very hard. So he suggested me to create the register and the login authentication system, and so I created that, and yeah, it has been a blessing, kind of blessing to me. Thank you.